might have heard that the great Muhammad Ali died this past Friday at the age of 74 years. This was a man who, besides being the world heavyweight boxing champion 3 times, transformed what it meant to be a sports hero. Before, it meant being the strong and silent type. After, something entirely different. Listen to some of the things that Ali used to say. And as I was practicing this, I kept on going into like an Apollo Creed sort of sound. So sorry in advance, warning in advance. If you even dream of beating me, you'd better wake up and apologize. Or, some of you are frowning at me. I'm sorry, I'm doing the best I can here. Or, I am the greatest. I said that even before I knew I was. Or this one, I'm so mean, I make medicine sick. But now listen to this one. Impossible is just a big word thrown around by small men who find it easier to live in the world they've been given to explore the power they have to change it. Ooh, I think I messed that up. Impossible is just a big word thrown around by small men who find it easier to live in the world they've been given than to explore their power to change it. There you go. Impossible is not a fact. It is an opinion. Impossible is not a declaration, it is a dare. Impossible is potential. Impossible is temporary. Impossible is nothing. And then this one. If they can make penicillin out of moldy bread, they can sure make something out of you. In other words, although he loved to crow about his greatness, he never thought that others couldn't find their own form of greatness as well. I think our Unitarian Universalist spiritual ancestor, Ralph Waldo Emerson, might have really liked him. For Emerson was also passionate about the depths of human potential, and he too expressed his passion in controversial ways. His particular way was to deny godhood to Jesus. Emerson opposed how Christianity deified the person of Jesus because he believed that all people had the potential to be as good as Jesus. But if Jesus' goodness came from his being an actual God, well then what hope do mere mortals have? We just give up. We let ourselves off the hook. We sell ourselves short. We don't do the hard work of curating the Jesus-like potentials that exist within us and are just waiting to be released. So, people need to be educated out of that bad theology and educated into something better. There is a time in every person's education, Emerson says, when he arrives at the conviction that envy is ignorance, that imitation is suicide, that he must take himself, for better, for worse, as his portion, that the wide universe is full of good. No kernel of nourishing corn can come to him, but through his toil bestowed on that plot of ground which is given to him to till. Emerson is saying, do the work. Get your hands dirty. The result is sweet. But it is surprisingly hard to do. You would think it would be easy to just stand there and shine like the stars that we are. But no. Unitarian Universalist poet May Sarton speaks to this. She says, now I become myself. It's taken time, many years and places. I have been dissolved and shaken, worn other people's faces, run madly as if time were there, terribly old, crying a warning, hurry, hurry, you will be dead before long. That is the ultimate context. Hurry, death is coming. But hearing the call of one's true life, fulfilling it, is a journey that takes as long as it takes. You are dissolved and shaken. The latest incident of sexism or racism or homophobia or some other ism proves the point. You have worn other people's faces, but what about your own? What does your face look like? What are you afraid of? Comedian Jim Carrey speaks about fear in connection with his father. He says, "My father could have been a great comedian, but he didn't believe that that was possible for him. And so he made a conservative choice. Instead, he got a safe job as an accountant. And when I was 12 years old, he was let go from that safe job, and our family had to do whatever we could to survive." Jim Carrey's dad wore another person's face. Fear of showing up to our lives, fear about that, it is immense. Sometimes the problem is that we're already established in the world. We have cars to pay for. We have houses to pay for. We have relationships that have settled into predictable and comfortable patterns. And guess what? The heart balks at all of it. It wrestles, will not accept. Makes no sense to the mind, which knows that we've got it made. The mind knows we have achieved society's vision of success, but the heart disagrees. The soul has its own truth to say. It feels in a deep and undeniable way that things are out of whack and that we are out of whack. Nothing satisfies. Waking up to the question of authenticity wakes us up to messiness. Dreams dry up, or fester and run, or stink, or crust and sugar over, or explode. They don't naturally unfold, as is their right. Or we can feel a global sense of dissatisfaction that others and the inner critic interpret as literal insanity. Or we can never seem to achieve stability and success, and so what we get is a slacker reputation. Hearing the call of one's true purpose is hard because it shakes us to the core. It becomes a fearful moment when it is clear that the life that I am living is not the life that wants to live through me. Society defines a success path that goes one way, but you sense that you must go another way and follow the different drumbeat of your own heart. But then, what is that mysterious way, and how do we discern it? I learned a great many lessons from my father, says Jim Carrey, not the least of which was that you can fail at what you don't want. So you might as well take a chance on doing what you love. Fear is going to be a player in your life. Fear is, but you get to decide how much. You can spend your whole life imagining ghosts, worrying about your pathway to the future, but all there will ever be is what is happening here and now, and the decisions we make in this very moment, which are based in either love or fear. Your job, Jim Carrey says, is not to figure out how it is going to happen for you, but to open the door in your head, and then when the door opens in real life, you just step right through. Just walk on through. Don't worry if you miss your cue. There will always be another door opening. They keep opening. Amen? Perhaps some volunteer opportunity here is just one of those doors that Jim Carrey is talking about. Just walk on through. See where it takes you. It's love over fear. You can't curate anybody's potentials or your own without this sort of love. Love that sees through the apparent poverty of the present to the reality, which is another thing entirely. A Sufi wisdom story puts it like this. A man in prison receives a gift. It is the gift of a prayer rug. What he wanted, of course, was a file, a crowbar, or a key. But he began using that rug, doing the 5 times prayer at dawn, at noon, mid-afternoon, after sunset, and before going to sleep, bowing, sitting up, bowing again. After many days of prayer, he noticed an odd pattern in the weave of the rug at the point where the head touches. He studies and meditates on that pattern, gradually discovering that it is a diagram of the lock. A picture of the lock that confines him to his cell, and it shows him how it works. Studying the diagram, he is able to escape. Anything you do every day can open into the deepest spiritual place, which is freedom. Never lose faith. Keep opening the door in your head. I don't have 10 steps to curating human potential for you today. I do not have a 10-step program for you today. What I have for you today is love. I have faith for you today. That is all I am bringing this morning. The Reverend Robert Fulgham, Unitarian Universalist minister and author of All I Really Need to Know I Learned in Kindergarten, gets it. He gets it. He tells the story of his friend Larry Walters. Walters, says Fulgham, is a truck driver, 33 years old. He is sitting in his lawn chair in the backyard, wishing he could fly. For as long as he could remember, he wanted to go up, to be able just to rise up into the air, see a long ways away. But the time, money, education, and opportunity to be a pilot, they were not his. Hang gliding was too dangerous, and any good place for gliding was too far away anyway. So he spent a lot of glorious summer afternoons sitting in his backyard in his ordinary aluminum chair, lawn chair, the kind with the webbing and the rivets, the kind that you might have in your own backyard. Well, the next chapter in this story is carried by the newspapers and television. There's old Larry Walters up in the air over Los Angeles, flying at last, really getting up there, still sitting in his aluminum lawn chair, but it's hooked on to 45 helium-filled surplus weather balloons. 45. Larry has a parachute on, a CB radio, a 6-pack of beer, some peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and a BB gun to pop some of the balloons to come down. And instead of being just a couple of 1,000 feet over his neighborhood, he shot up 11,000 feet right through the approach corridor to the Los Angeles International Airport. Walters is a taciturn man. When asked by the press why he did it, he said, well, you just can't sit there. You just can't sit there. When asked if he was scared, he answered, wonderfully so. When asked if he would do it again, he said, nope. And asked if he was glad that he did it, he grinned from ear to ear and said, oh, yes. That's the story. We all wish that we could fly. And so often, the form that our true freedom takes looks very different from what we or the world expects. So what? It is freedom. You just can't sit there. With love, with faith, we care for ourselves. Finally, we are living the life that wishes to be lived through us. Says Muhammad Ali, impossible is not a declaration, it is a dare. Impossible is potential, impossible is temporary, impossible is nothing. I will close with another story about Ali. Listen and think on freedom. It's from Cal Fussman, writer for Esquire magazine. Muhammad Ali came through the double doors into the living room of his hotel suite on slow, tender steps. He He'd been diagnosed with Parkinson's years ago in 1980, and the disease had this once great athlete in its grip. I held out my hand. He opened his arms. Ali lowered himself into a sofa, and I sat on an adjacent chair. I've come, I said, to ask about the wisdom you've taken from all that you've been through. Ali seemed preoccupied with his right hand, which was trembling over his right thigh, and he did not speak. George Foreman told me that you were the most important man in the world. When I asked him why, he said that when you walked into a room, it didn't matter who was there, presidents, prime ministers, CEOs, movie stars, everybody turned towards you. He said you were the most important person in the world because you made everybody's heart beat faster. The shaking in Ali's right hand seemed to creep above his elbow. Both his arms were quivering now, and his breaths were short and quick. And I leaned in awkwardly, not knowing quite what to do. Half a minute passed by in silence. I wondered if I should call for his wife. Ali stooped over, and now his whole body was trembling, and his breaths were almost gasps. "Champ, are you okay? You okay?" Ali lifted his head and slowly turned to me with the smile of an 8-year-old. "Scared ya, huh?" Freedom. Amen.